Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever you are in the world, in this moment that you hear this episode, that you have fully captured and embodied the Christmas spirit or the spirit of the holidays, regardless of religion. There is an energy and a vibe this time of year. People are more apt to make eye contact and smile and wish you good cheer today. And well, this whole past week, at least here in Ecuador. And I just love this time of year. I love this time of year. And people are so happy. And they're just so willing to hug you and say hello or Merry Christmas. And it's so sweet. I love this time of year so much, regardless of religion, regardless of which one you celebrate, whether it's Diwali, Yule, solstice, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or maybe there's even another one I didn't even think about. No matter what you celebrate, this is a magical, beautiful, wonderful, marvelous time of year. And so I'm here to wish you a happy, happy, merry, merry, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. I'm going to do a shorter version than I normally do because it is Christmas. I have wrapped quite a few gifts for my son. We have to make cookies still for Santa, and in the other room, not sure if you guys can hear it or not, we put on all of our favorite 1964 or so, 64, 65, Christmas claymation videos. Oh my God, Santa Claus is coming to town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and what else? Frosty the Snowman, which is actually not a claymation, I don't believe. That one's a regular cartoon. And also, I'm going to put on 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which I tell you right now, one of my most favorite Christmas movies ever made. Always brings me to my knees and makes me cry because when I was a very, very little girl, my dad showed it to me. His insurance company, Elba, sponsored it, and it was on ABC prime time, and it showed the name of his company, and I asked my dad if he was Santa Claus. I thought he was Santa Claus, and well, I'm going to tell you some stories about that later, but I sparked something in him. I gave him the holiday spirit, maybe, with that question. And he made me watch it, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. It just touched my heart so much, and I was only like, I don't even know what, maybe 2 or 3 years old, but I understood what the energy of that one. It's like there's no greater love than that of parents for their kids, right? And Christmas time, it just makes me verklempt. Here I'm going to cry. But Christmas time is just a time to connect in a much deeper way, in a much more appreciative way. You know, whether you're having a cup of hot chocolate together, which my son and I are definitely, that's on the agenda for tonight. Sometimes we throw in a little nip of whiskey. Now that he's older, he's 17. So every now and again, we're trying to stay away from the drinking this year. But in past couple years, he made hot toddies for us when we were in Mexico. That was during the turn of the new year, though. But every now and again, you know, my kids bust out with something like, hey, here's a whiskey. It's like, okay, not too much. We'll put in super hot coffee or super hot chocolate. But that's a part of our holiday traditions. and making Christmas cookies for Santa, arranging them pretty on a plate, giving him a glass of milk, because that's so special. It's so special. And then to wake up in the morning and, oh my gosh, Santa had some of the cookies and he left us presents, and he also drank some of that milk. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And even though my kids know that, well, we'll tell you more later, but we've had a couple miracles that no one can explain. But, well, we're going to talk about that just after the messages. I'm going to go in, I'm going to tell you guys the Schumann resonance first, okay? So basically, oh, actually, you know what? It did not queue up. Oh, no, it did, but it has the wrong date. So I'm like, wait a minute. All right. Italy, Schumann resonance, they had a little bit of activity, it looks like. Today's activity lasted for 8 hours from 2 until 10. The highest values occurred between 6 and 7:30 UTC time and only reached power 27. So 27 hertz frequency on the Schumann resonance scale out of Italy. Now, it's a little bit different. Always is. But this one's a strange one. So in California, they start off at 41 hertz frequency at midnight, and they went up to 45 hertz frequency by 5 a.m. And by the way, it doesn't ever go for longer. It just until 5, and then the next day it's up until 5 again. And in Hafuf, Saudi Arabia, there's still 0 all the way across. In Lithuania, they're at 97 hertz frequency at midnight and went up to 100 by 5 a.m. In Alberta, Canada, they start off at 15 hertz frequency and ended at 0 by 5 a.m. So we have Hafuf and Alberta are both at 0. And this is another weird one. Northland, New Zealand is at 0 all the way across. So by 5 a.m., 3 cities were at 0. Hululu, South Africa, they've been wild. I'm going to tell you where they were yesterday because it was not functioning too well. I'm going to tell you the highest peak I see on the 22nd. We did go over this, I think. They were at 315 hertz frequency was their peak. And then they had another peak yesterday at 239, and they've come down considerably from there. So at midnight today, they were at 157 hertz frequency. And then at 5 a.m., Hululu, South Africa was at 161 hertz frequency on the Schumann resonance scale. Now let's see, what do we have here for, I don't even know if I queued up the, I want to call it the disaster news because it's all they're kind of reporting. And I almost didn't really want to report on this tonight, but we're going to see if there's anything pressing, anyone we need to pray for, because charity is, well, it's good year round. Okay, for some reason, this is very weird. Now I can't even find the site. Maybe I'm looking at, oh, here it is. All right. I was going to say, maybe I'm not supposed to read anything. All right. We're back on the mass extinction events from millions and millions of years ago episode. Article, sorry. Oh my God. You guys, I have been wrapping gifts. I got a lot of little things for my son, but it's super fun to, instead of just give it to him the beginning of this month, it's better to be like, here's some socks wrapped up. Here's some pajamas wrapped up. I can't say it out loud because he might be able to hear me. Wow. This is strange. Let's see. We have some. All right. Now, the Christmas typhoon that was supposed to hit Ursula, fan phone, was supposed to hit basically tomorrow. Philippines. I guess it is tomorrow in the Philippines now. So Ursula already made landfall in the Philippines. They experienced heavy damage to high-risk structures in Samar. So please pray for the Philippines. They were bracing for this. They knew it was coming, but it still can't be good, when a hurricane hits on Christmas. I don't know. First multi-spot group of solar cycle 25. Thank God. Thank God. That means the sun is going to start gain a little bit more magnetosphere for the sun is going to start to come back. That might spark our own. That's for solar cycle 25. That's in the, I can tell you active region. Who knows the active regions of the sun? It's like, really? Like, we don't all know that. Just the scientists care, the ones who geek out on the sun. Anyway, so the good news is we do have the solar cycle. It's starting again. We were looking at it for a couple days. I kept looking and looking, and it looked like it's getting ready to start another sunspot. And thank God, there's several little spots that are becoming a bigger sunspot. I don't know what that means or why this happens exactly to our star, but when the sunspot gets really big, then there's a huge magnetic shield that can shield us from a lot of the cosmic radiation. And it's been the biggest solar minimum ever, meaning there's no magnetosphere to the sun. And ours has been down. It's weird. And I think that's why there's 3 cities in the Schumann resonance who've just been, not doing much. They're just at zero now, right? There was a M6.0, magnitude 6.0 earthquake hit northern Argentina. It was a deep earthquake, which means probably not much damage on the surface, but there was a 6.0 magnitude earthquake, a strong and shallow earthquake that hit Colombia today, which means I have a couple phone calls to make when I'm done making the show. I got to make sure my friends are okay, because it looks like it was just south of Bogota. Galactic bubbles are not a mystery. I don't know what that means. It's a mystery to me. That is a headline for today. We're going to probably go over this later because I don't want to get into it right now. It looks really interesting, though, and beautiful. A lot of people are reporting in the New Age community or spiritual community about this Christmas spirit that they're feeling. Santa Claus comes tonight, guys. Now, I always knew that Santa Claus was real. My dad told me when I was 8, my stepmom told me Santa Claus was not real. After actually, I think it was 9 or 10. You don't still believe in Santa Claus, do you? He's not real. It's my stepmom told me. But when I was 8, she's like, oh my God, is that Santa? Oh my God, is that Santa? Oh, I think I see Rudolph's nose. Oh my gosh, look. Like, for hours, she had me outside looking for Santa. And she was laughing her ass off. And then 2 years later, she told me he doesn't exist. So I'm like, well, it's not like you're making a fool out of me, right? You're kind of making a jackass out of yourself by leading me on, building my belief just to let me down 2 years later. What a dick move that was, right? But I know Santa Claus is absolutely real. And I'm going to tell you some stories tonight. After tonight, you're probably going to believe he's real too. So, lesson 196 is where we are at for the Foundation of Inner Peace and A Course in Miracles. This is a very odd one to land on Christmas Day, but we're going to roll with it anyway. This is the main thought for lesson 196. It can be but myself I crucify. What? It's not very Christmassy. It can be but myself I crucify. So when this is firmly understood and kept in full awareness, you will not attempt to harm yourself, nor make your body slave to vengeance. You will not attack yourself, and you'll realize that to attack another person is but to attack yourself. You'll be free of the insane belief that to attack a brother saves yourself. And you'll understand his safety is your own, and in his healing, you are healed. Well, you know what? Some of you might have some volatile family situations, very much likely that this might be a good message for you. Perhaps at first you will not understand how mercy, limitless and with all things held in its sure protection, can be found in the idea we practice for today. It may in fact appear to be a sign that punishment can never be escaped, because the ego, under what it sees as a threat, is quick to cite the truth to save its lies. Yet it must fail to understand the truth it uses thus. But you can learn to see these foolish applications and deny the meaning they appear to have. Thus you also teach your mind that you are not an ego, for the ways in which the ego would distort the truth will not deceive you longer. You will not believe you are body to be crucified, and you will see within today's idea the light of resurrection, looking past all thoughts of crucifixion and of death to thoughts of liberation and of life. All right, let's see. It goes 12 paragraphs if you want to read lesson 196 on an app. Just look up A Course in Miracles on your iTunes store or your Google Play Store, and it's right there. Or just go to acim.org. It's absolutely free to read these lessons and take them as many times as you like, because it's going to unhook and unhinge all of the negative stuff that has been taking hold of you your whole life, especially if you were religious growing up. This does unhook the negative parts of that. So again, it's just, it can be, but myself I crucify. So basically, don't hurt anybody else. You're going to hurt only yourself. So there it is. Let me see. There wasn't anything else from here that I was going to read from. So I'm going to stop the introduction now, take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm going to tell you some stories that made me believe and know in my heart of hearts that Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, his spirit is here. It's with us. He's with us, and I believe that he visits all the people who believe in him every year. And he comes tonight, so I've got to finish my show quickly and go to bed because he's going to come visit me. But I'm going to tell you my stories right after this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm back. I told you in the introduction how my father was so proud that his insurance company put out the Christmas special, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And this was really, really special to me because I saw how enthusiastic my dad got around this time of year, every year. He was just so generous of spirit and kind-hearted, and he loved everybody. And this part of the year was really precious for him. And so I just saw something in his eyes, and I knew he was Santa Claus. I told him when that show was on, I remember turning to him and I said, "I know you're Santa Claus." And he's like, "What? I'm not Santa Claus." I go, "No, you're Santa Claus. There's something in you. You're Santa Claus." And so years passed, and when I was, maybe about 6 or 7, maybe, my dad dressed as Santa Claus, and he ho-ho-hoed his way through my cousin's living room and gave everybody their gifts and said he was going to go because he had other houses to hit. He had to go over to the houses. He's got a lot of work going, and he had to feed the reindeer before he left. So he went out the back door and quickly changed back into my father and came back, and he said, "Well, I just finished parking the car. What's going on, guys? Happy Christmas. How are you?" And my cousins were like, "Oh my God, you just missed Santa Claus. He just left. I can't believe you missed him." And he's like, "What? Oh, what a shame. Oh, darn." And I knew the secret. My dad winked at me and I winked at him, and it was like our little secret. My brother, I don't know, I think he knew back then, but then, and my stepmom just kept her mouth shut. And my dad played Santa Claus for the family a few times. And then he was hired by my Aunt Billy to play Santa Claus, not only at her work, to show up and deliver gifts to everybody that worked for her in the Thrifty Telephone answering service in the Valley, just north of LA. And then he was hired to play Santa Claus on her float. And we had a float in the Santa Claus Hollywood Lane Parade every year. And I was on the float 2 or 3 years in a row. I was on the float. Ruth Buzzy and Sid and Marty Croft, they were on the float behind us, and I was in my heaven. I was like, oh my God, they're there, oh my God, Ruth Buzzy. I love her so much, and it was very special. It was special times. I had a lot of special moments as a child, and I'm really grateful for all those memories. And when I was a teenager, we moved back to Minnesota, and my father continued to play Santa Claus every Christmas Eve. He would show up, and if the people had a fireplace, he'd say, "Make sure you have a fire going in the fireplace." And they would place all of their gifts in the garage or in the back of someone's truck and give my dad the key, and he would transfer all the gifts, wrapped in a different paper, of course, to his big red sack. And he would knock on the door, and they would answer, and he would go, "Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Who has a fire going in the fireplace? I can't deliver the presents like this, and I've got a lot of houses to get to tonight, so please let me in. I could give the kids their Christmas gifts." And oh my God, to see the light in those children's eyes, oh, they were just so happy. Now, I had to give up every Christmas Eve, I had to give up to my father because my father had to go and play Santa Claus, and he had many houses he went to on Christmas Eve, and he got paid, I think, $100 a house. And that was back in the 80s. And this is how he paid for my braces, guys. On Christmas Day when I was 16, I got an IOU in my stocking, and it had an orthodontist brochure. Love Santa, right? And this is how my brother and I, this is how, when we were kids, how my parents made it. They managed to pay for all of our Christmas gifts, with the Santa Claus money. And so a lot of times we'd have to go to the mall the day after Christmas to buy the IOU gifts that, because we didn't have enough time and all the stores were closed on Christmas Day. So we would always have socks and underwear and the occasional pajamas or slippers under the tree. And sometimes we get a game, or something, but usually the gifts came the day after Christmas. And this was a sacrifice my brother and I happily made to see the look on the children's faces when the real Santa Claus showed up. And my dad grew a beard, and every year he bleached his beard, and it was freaking white. When he got older, it was almost all the way white, but he still bleached it. And he had a long beard, and the kids would pull out and go, "Oh my God, your beard is real." And he'd say, "Yeah." And as soon as they were done sitting on his lap and hugging him and saying how much they loved him, he would pull out an old-fashioned pipe. And one year I gifted him, when I was 14, I gave him cherry pipe tobacco. And he never, ever stopped smoking cherry pipe tobacco after that. And he would put cherry pipe tobacco in his pipe, and he would smoke it. And people would say, "Well, I thought, Fred, you smoke cigarettes," right? Like the adults would be like, "Hey, I thought you smoked cigarettes." He goes, "Oh no, Santa Claus never smokes cigarettes. Cigarettes are bad for you. But I do smoke a Christmas pipe that smells like cherry." And so that was his way of getting his tobacco fix if people asked him in to celebrate for an extra hour or something. And he would spend about an hour to 2 hours per house. And so we'd have 3 or 4, and sometimes he'd do several without us. And in later years, after I left home, my dad played Santa Claus in a TV commercial for a suit. I think it's called the Suit Factory or something. I can't remember. And that commercial won awards. They said it was the best realistic Santa Claus anybody ever played on any of the Christmas commercials. And my dad literally won an award for his work as Santa Claus in a local commercial. So it was just really, really sweet. It was like a men's suit place. I can't remember if it was the Suit Factory or something. It was in Grand Forks, North Dakota. But so I always grew up. And one year I was crying, and I told my dad what my stepmom had said, and he goes, "Oh no, she's wrong. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You don't have to listen to her." And he said, "Santa Claus is absolutely real. We know the Santa Claus is real. And if you don't want to tell her, that's okay. That could be our secret, because you know that I'm one of Santa's helpers, and I embody the spirit of Santa Claus, and I myself, I know he's real. I feel it. I know it. The magic is really real, and it's really here." And it was so special that my dad told me that when I was little. And I always grew up believing it. He said, no matter who says it's not real, they're just non-believers, and they haven't caught the magic and miracle of Christmas. Well, fast forward to when I have my first child. And my first child, he was born a girl. He's a he now, but he was born a girl. Alice is what he ended up going by for a while before he became Liam. But my sweet little Alice, she was, born in March, so 9 months old or something at Christmas, her first Christmas. So I think this was her second Christmas. She was almost 2. And I told her, Santa Claus is real. The spirit of Santa Claus is real. The original St. Nicholas died many, many, many years ago, but the spirit of St. Nicholas comes and visits and blesses all the children of the world, sometimes leaving magical gifts behind, and sometimes Daddy and Mommy will give you gifts in his honor in the name of Santa, because that's, we wish to do that in his name, in his honor, because he was a true saint. He was a real hero for children, and he really loved people. And so we want to embody his spirit and his love. And so my kids grew up knowing that there might not be a physical Santa Claus, but the spirit and magic of Christmas is real. It is real. It is real. It's always here. So I told my children that from their first Christmas on. When my oldest child was around 2 years old, I told her that. I put her to bed. I told her she has to stay in bed for Santa to bring the presents and to bring the gifts. And then I snuck down. I was going to sneak downstairs to, put the Santa gifts that usually are unwrapped, and some are wrapped with special paper, completely different than all the other paper. So it's like, wait a minute, you didn't have this paper. And I would wrap gifts in front of my kids with special paper, like with normal paper that we wrap everyone's gifts in. And then under the tree every year for magical purposes, there was, wait a minute, we didn't have that paper. They never saw that paper. And I always get the smaller rolls so they never would. I would never put that paper in the back of the closet if there was any left over, because there never was. I made sure of it. I'd double wrap something if I had to. So it would be like this massive mystery, like, whoa. So when my oldest was almost 2 years old, like a year and 9 months old, I'm like, okay, now it's time, because Santa Claus, he's on his way. So you have to stay in bed. And she's like, okay, Mommy. And I started to go downstairs, and my husband was, I don't know where he was. He wasn't in bed. I think he was outside on the deck. And he was watching the stars. It was very cold and crisp, Northern California in the forest, and always smelled wonderful. And people were burning wood in their fireplace, and it always smelled just so amazing. It's just, Christmas is magical there. And so I was on my way down the stairs, and I asked Santa Claus, I shut my eyes in the hallway and said, Santa Claus, please come to our house and bless us, because I do believe his spirit does do that. And I started to walk downstairs, and the spirit of Santa Claus appeared before me at the bottom of the stairs. And he looks just like the Santa Claus that, almost like the commercial Santa Claus. Like, he was a little bit plump, not enormous or anything. He wasn't super fat, but, he had a red suit on with white fur trim, and he had gloves on. I think they're white gloves, and he became almost like flesh and blood, like that, like solid, like opaque. And he looked at me, and he winked, and he sent me love, and he sent me this blessing, and I just felt magical. There was something really special, and I can't explain it to you guys. It's real. He's real. And I just looked at this, and I said, oh my God. I always believed it, but I never saw him. He let me see him. And I mean, the energy is like red and white flurry of energy. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It brings tears to my eyes even now, because I felt it and I knew. And it like the energy he sent to me shot through my heart, and this warmth and this beauty spread through my body. And I just felt it throughout my aura that Santa Claus is absolutely real. And I saw him. And he kind of put a finger to the side of his nose, and he kind of did the chuckle, and he spun around like a tornado, like in a whirlwind. And in a flash, he was gone. I saw like a white flash and he was gone. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even want to go downstairs. I'm like, what else is he doing? He's doing something near the tree. I can't go down there. Like, I literally sat on the stairs for like 10 minutes just going, oh my God. And I was like, I sat on the stairs like kind of clutching my heart for a minute. Like, I mean, I had to take a few deep breaths and I was like crying. I was like, oh my God, he's really real. I just saw him. And I told my kid that. I'm like, I just saw Santa Claus. He's really real. Oh my God. You know, pretty incredible. Really, really incredible. And so it wasn't that year, but it was maybe 2 years later. And every year I watched for Santa Claus, watched the skies. I did try to, you know, I felt his energy. Sometimes I felt him in the house and then he would leave. He didn't appear before me again, but I knew he was real. And I went downstairs on Christmas morning a couple years later when my youngest son was maybe 2. So my oldest now is about 4.5, right? 4 years and like, you know, almost 5. And I think my youngest was around 3. And every Christmas also we would get candy canes and we would hang them up on the tree. We had our ornaments. I made handmade ornaments for the kids, and I had ornaments every year. I would get their pictures taken, and then I'd get the ornaments where you put the pictures inside so they could see how they've grown over the years. And unfortunately, I've lost all of that. You know, when my storage was, you know, so I've lost all of it now. But that's what I did. You know, I tried to make Christmas extremely special and magical, and I would hang Christmas candy canes all over the tree. So they'd come downstairs on Christmas like, wait a minute, we didn't hang Christmas candy canes on the tree, you know, so that was always special. And I always did this with the love and the joy of Santa Claus, right? One year when my son, youngest was about 3 and my oldest was like, you know, 4, 9 months, almost 5. On the back of the Christmas tree, there was a present, a little tiny present hanging on the back of the tree, and it was a necklace. It was a silver necklace. And we had a bunch of gifts that my family had sent us. We had all kinds of gifts, and there was nothing that was wrapped in that kind of paper. It was not the secret Santa paper I had. It was nothing that we had. And my husband was never really interested. Like, our first Christmas together, we decorated. And then after we had kids, he helped a little bit. And then he just seemed to not give a crap about it anymore. I did everything from making the meal to making the cookies with the kids for Santa to everything. You know, he barely helped at all, you know. So it wasn't like him to hang a present on the Christmas tree. And you know, we got all the gifts. I'm like, did I miss anything? Do we have everything? And he's looking and he's like, no, it looks like there's everything he's like, wow, I think it looks like there's everything, everything is ready. You know, we got everything. And he's like, wait a minute, that's something weird. And I'm like, what? He goes, did you hang that on the Christmas tree? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, I didn't. I go, don't lie to me. Like, come on, tell me the truth. It's like, no, I swear to God. I swear to God. Now, okay, before this happened, my father called us, and I told you guys the story when he passed away, but we went over to North Dakota to see him. And I'm the one, my oldest child and I, we were the last ones to see him before he died. You know, we left and the nurses thought he was asleep, and he died like a couple hours later. And when he died, my stepmother gave me his Santa Claus boots. They were black cowboy boots with white fur on them. Those are Santa's boots. And I would always put Santa Claus's boots underneath the tree, so that on Christmas morning, they'd be like, wait a minute, why are these old boots there? And my dad's like, that's not those are like size 13s. Those are not my boots. I don't have boots like that. The Santa Claus must have got so comfortable here, they took off his boots. And every year that was the thing. And I lost my dad's boots too. But for many years, we had Santa Claus's boots. They would magically appear under the tree, and that became a thing too. So underneath Santa, right above on the tree, above where Santa Claus's boots were, was a little white present. And I think it had reindeer. And it looked like very old-fashioned, like Victorian paper, beautiful paper. And it had like reindeers, like white with like maybe reindeers or something on it. And it looked totally different than everything else, right? And I opened it, and it was for me. It had my name on it. It said, I think it said to Elena from Santa, not in my husband's writing, obviously not my children's writing, definitely not in my writing. And we did not know where the hell it went and where it came from. And it was like a necklace, and I wore it. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then I never saw it again, and I kind of can't remember what the necklace was. It disappeared. But it was here. It was really there. Fast forward to a few years later when my husband and I had divorced, and I was living in the housing, government housing, because it's the only apartment I could afford. And even with it being government housing, when my husband died and I got his money, it ended up being like an $800 a month apartment. It was $850 a month. So I ended up moving to a much better apartment in a safer area of town for the same amount of money. But, because they take a third of your money. But basically, my kids every year they wrote letters to Santa. And one year, my oldest kid wrote to Santa and asked for a kitten, a cat. And I'm like, honey, we're not allowed to have cats here. You know I can't give you a cat. She says, well, I'm not asking you. I'm going to ask Santa Claus. I'm like, well, all right, you can ask the spirit of Santa Claus. That's fine. Ask Santa Claus for a cat. I'm like, if Santa Claus brings you a cat on Christmas, I think we could keep it. But I'm not going to be the one. I'm not going to pretend to be Santa Claus and bring it to you. All right? And they might kick us out if we have a cat. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And also, I think my youngest had asked for a bicycle. Was that what it was? Something. I think he asked for a bicycle, and yeah, that's how it was. My youngest wrote letter to Santa, asked for a bicycle. That's what happened that year. It was 1 year, right? And then, so basically, we had our Santa, we had our Christmas, we had our everything, and the next morning, on Christmas morning, after we were done opening up our gifts, I asked my youngest to please go throw the trash in the trash, which is just right behind our building. Look both ways, make sure there's no one in the parking lot, go over there. And he went over there, and Santa Claus had left him a bicycle next to the trash. I did not leave it there. It fit his body perfectly. Someone had thrown it away. And he came back and he's like, look, Mom, he said, well, Santa Claus left me my bicycle. It was red, I think. And we were like, that was weird. Why would there be a bicycle? I'm like, are you sure? Is it broken? It wasn't. It was his bicycle. Rode it around. Rode around all day Christmas Day. My oldest opened the door a couple hours later. She's like, I think I heard a knock at the door. I'm like, well, open it. I'm here, We'll see who it is. Might be one of our friends stopping by for Christmas, all right. And she opened the door, and there's no way the little kitten could have knocked. But the minute she opened the door, the little kitten walked in, and she said, oh, Mom, Santa just delivered my Christmas present. Meow. And we were looking around like no one knew except me and Santa and my children. No one else knew. So we had a red and white cat, kind of orangey and white, a redhead cat. Little baby kitten came and was our cat for the night. Asked to be let out hours later, and we never saw that cat again. I know Santa Claus is real. He gave my youngest a bicycle that I couldn't afford, and he gave my oldest a cat that I couldn't have provided. So I would have to say, then we had the next following year, we met this random person who told us about this other random person who we became friends with for a while. And she said, I want to be grandma to your kids. I'm like, all right, we spent Thanksgiving with her. But she said, there's a special program, and I'm going to call and write them a letter and figure it out. But expect, on Christmas morning, expect a knock at the door. I'm like, all right, fine. And so knocked the door, and it wasn't Santa. It wasn't a magical thing that time, but some firefighters, hot, sexy, hunky firefighters. I'm all, thank you, Santa. I'm just kidding. But beautiful men. They all walked in, and they gave me a gift of a smoke alarm and made sure, tested all my batteries, gave me a new one, and gave me their number just in case we ever needed anything. And they delivered brand new shiny bicycles to my children, which was absolutely incredible. And they were like, oh my God, this is really cool. And brand new shiny. And I think we had left the other bicycle, or we brought it, but my the tire was flat, they really needed bicycles. And then they brought us food, and they brought us something else, all these gifts. And it was just but my friend had written a letter saying that we were struggling. We didn't have a lot of money, that their father had died. And so that was kind of a magical day. And we felt the energy and the spirit of Santa Claus with us that year. But nothing magical happened again for quite a while. And this last year, here in the apartment where I'm at right now, we were looking out the skies. We were looking for Santa Claus. My son and I, we believe just strongly, my youngest and I, we were just always let's see if we can see him. We want to see him. We want to meet you. We kept saying, Santa, we love you so much. We want to meet you. And while we were looking outside, looking out the window, and we thought we saw something. And it was kind of an orange. It was like a rush of white and red light together that was kind of an orange. And it kind of looked like the way a shooting star looks, as well as if that was mixed with fireworks. And it wasn't a firework, but it went rushing, streaking across the sky. And it was only for a split second. I thought I saw it. My son's like, oh my God, I just saw him. I just know it's him. And right after we saw that, we felt an energy behind us, and the hairs on my spine, on the back of my neck, I don't have the hairs on my spine, but the hairs on the back of your neck, the really tiny hairs, stood up, and I just felt like someone's in the room with us. The way I get when the Lyrans show up or something, or other entities. I can sense it. I could sense it. And I just felt this kind of a cool rush of electrical energy behind me. Very masculine, but very positive, high quality, divine masculine type of energy. And I'm like, whoa, someone's behind me. And my son and I just kind of looked at each other and we're like, all right, that was weird. And we're like, we love you, Santa. And then I put on Christmas music, and I painted a painting for my friend, and I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning, and I had put out all the presents. Again, I do the same thing every year, even though my kid was 16 last year. He's 17 this year. And I always put the presents out, and then later I put the Secret Santa presents out, and we do the stockings, and we haven't been able to find stockings here in Ecuador yet. I'm sure they exist somewhere. We might have to make them for next year. One year I used to have velvet ones that I made for the whole family with our names on it and everything, but again, lost it in storage. But so last year I just, had like little gift bags that were our stockings instead. And so we did that. But last year, after we unwrapped our gifts, there weren't that many. We were hanging out, and there was a little white gift. Again, a little white gift to Elena from Santa. Again, not written in my son's handwriting, obviously not written in mine. I didn't get that for myself. My son didn't get me this, and I almost can't remember what it is, but I do know it was a necklace, another silver necklace. And it was beautiful, and I put it on, and I haven't seen it, I think, since last January. It only lasted a couple hours, maybe a couple days. And I remember wearing it. I'm never going to take it off. Oh my God, Santa gave me something really special. It's this beautiful piece of jewelry. And I'm never, ever, ever going to take it off. And I think I had a dream that my body absorbed the necklace, like it melted into my body, so that I would have the permanent Christmas spirit forever. And I never saw it again. And it wasn't until a couple weeks, about 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, and I thought, I'm going to do a Santa Claus miracle story episode for Christmas Eve. And I'm like, wait a minute, Santa gave me a gift last year, and it was magical because it disappeared. It was from another realm, and it could only hold the energy of the third dimension for so long. And then it went back up maybe to the seventh or higher. And it disappeared, and the box and the wrapping it came in disappeared as well. I hope Santa Claus brings me another gift this year, but I don't know. I don't expect it. I hope it happens because it was very magical and very wonderful. So I don't know what to tell you guys other than I know that Santa Claus is absolutely real. He has brought us gifts. He has brought us things that we asked for. My son with the bicycle, my other, daughter, now son with the kitten, giving me necklaces twice. They disappear. I think we ended up leaving that bicycle behind in our old house. We said we couldn't bring it or something, and somehow, and I think it disappeared. It might have disappeared, but the cat too. So look, I'm telling you guys, this is real. It's absolutely 100% totally real. He's not going to bother stopping by your house if you don't believe in him, but he will come there for sure. He'll come there for sure. If you believe in him and you ask him, you could just say a few words to him, like, hey, St. Nicholas, I love you. I believe in you, and I wish you would come by and bless my family this year. And you could ask for anything. Ask him for anything. I asked him for a house in Ecuador to call my own, like a real house that's mine in my name. So I asked him for. And my true love, please bring me my twin flame. We have to wait for him to be ready, obviously. I'm ready. But when he's ready, just, let us find each other quickly and easily. But come into our house, please, and bless us. Bless us. Now, maybe it was my dad leaving me the necklaces. Because my dad embodied Santa Claus. He really, something in his eyes changed. My dad, he had put the makeup on his cheeks to have rosy cheeks, just like the story. My dad did, he had blue eyes. His real eyes were very blue. And he had dark blonde hair. But he dyed it all. His hair and his beard dyed it all for Christmas. and he would bleach his beard so it was really white, and then his hair he had special, I don't know, hair paint, I don't know, he painted his hair white, and he had his hair long and curly, and then he would cut his hair before Christmas Day, and he would shave his beard all the way off so that no one would ever suspect it was him. He'd be like, oh, I've had my beard shaved for a week. So none of the kids would ever suspect. None of them would suspect it was him. And so my family, we've always had a few people that believed in Santa. My kids, me, my husband started to believe him. I think my husband saw him the year after I saw him in our living room. He said he saw someone standing by the tree. And that was the year actually that the necklace showed up. And he came downstairs and he saw someone standing by the tree, and he started to say, hey, like for a minute thought someone was robbing the place. I forgot that until right now. But he said like the spirit turned around and smiled at him and disappeared in a flash. And it was like, again, with a red outfit with a white trim. And that was when the necklace appeared. And he said, I think he was delivering a necklace for you. I think that was what happened. And I was like, oh my God, that was like so incredible. So I saw him one year, then the following year, my husband did see him in our house. And so I know Santa's always in our house. He's always gracing us with his presence. And I'm so grateful. So, so grateful. So I just wanted to share my Santa Claus miracle stories with you guys. You know, and how he embodies and embraces those who love him. And he works through people to bring special toys or presents, especially when kids really need it. You know, I mean, that was our second Christmas without their dad, when the firefighters showed up, and they embodied the spirit of Santa in that moment. There was a female firefighter and a manager of the firefighters who kind of go around with them. And then the two firefighters. It was like 4 people showed up at our door that day. It was like, and one of them was dressed like Santa, and he's like, ho, ho, ho. And it was so amazing. It was just, that was so beautiful. And my kids are like, oh my God, who are these strangers that just showed up? And the firefighters, they had the truck. They're like, you guys want to go see the truck? And they got to see the truck. It was really cool. It's really cool. So I wanted you guys to know it is real. It's absolutely real. The spirit and energy of this magical season. And on top of that, Santa Claus is real. His spirit will show up in your house. If you 100% ask him to be there, and he'll be there. He'll come tonight. So we got to wrap this up. But I'm going to read you guys something first. Since it's Christmas. I know you know what I'm going to read to you. Let's see if I could get through it without crying. But this is now the TV show, or the you could see this on YouTube. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and it's how this poem came about. I believe it's a true story. It's made in the Victorian times, and it just, all kinds of broke my heart. I was so scared for the little girl, and she was so sick. And I guess I related to it because as a child, I was very sickly, and I had asthma. And I mean, many, many, many nights, my parents stayed up with me, rubbing my back and helping me, and putting the Vicks Vapor Rub on my chest and giving me the medicine. And so many nights I saw my parents struggle, so scared I might die. And I was like, I mean, asthma is no joke when you're a kid. And so I think I related to the little girl. And then I didn't think that I was her or anything. I didn't relate in a way that I really, but there's something about the father loving the daughter so much that he would do anything for her. And he wrote this. Clement Clark Moore wrote this for his own child. This is called A Visit from St. Nicholas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring. not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were all nestled, all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. Told you guys, I can't do this without crying, because I really saw him, he's real. All right, and then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. Oh, his eyes, how they twinkled! His dimples, how merry! His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and his beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly. It shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, and then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger side of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." All right, I'm just going to cry. It's just like, oh, so much memories. I love this one. My favorite Christmas poem of all time. And I saved it to read it to you guys as my gift to you for your Christmas day. Tomorrow you'll hear it, or maybe tonight. Depends on if you're up late or not. But I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being on this ascension journey with me and working so hard on yourselves, because only together are we going to make this work, and we are really, really, really going to the 5th dimension physically in every possible way. We're there mentally already. Our souls are there, everything. We're like up there, we're up there. Our souls are higher up than 5th dimension, but we're there, guys, we're there. I'm so excited, I'm so happy. Thank you for this year that we have had. We have only a few more days, and I'm going to start season 2 on January 1st. And that will make 365 episodes of Metaphysical Soul Speak, the podcast. I could not have done it without you guys. And I wanted to thank you for listening and forwarding it and telling anyone and everyone who will listen, who want to listen, who want to learn more about spiritual things. And we'll have a lot more episodes next year. So there you have it. I wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. And that's it for tonight. So I'm signing off with the Christmas spirit and peace and joy and the high vibes of the Holy Fifth Dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.